or is the 10-inch worm gonna catch the biggest fish like it should? Oh, here we go. There he is on the 10-inch worm. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode. In today's video, we're gonna be testing another bass fishing theory that I have, and you guys have probably all heard this one at one point or another, and that is that a bigger bait is gonna catch you a bigger fish. So what we're gonna do here today is we have a very wide variety of different bait sizes right here, 7 different soft plastics actually, and we're gonna go through the list. So we're gonna start with the small little finesse TRD. We're gonna work into a 3-inch Googan Squad craw. Then we have a 4-inch Berkley Power Bait Senko. Then we have a 5-inch Yum Dinger. We have about a 6-inch Plasma Tail. We have a 7-inch Exo Ribbon by Biospawn. And then last but not least, we have the 10-inch worm by Googan Squad, the Mondo worm. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna catch 1 bass in each one of these baits, and we're gonna measure those fish on the Ego bump board and see which one catches the biggest bass. So goal of the day, catch 7 bass, and we're gonna see exactly which one of these baits catches the biggest fish. Is the Finesse TRD gonna catch the biggest one, or is the 10-inch worm gonna catch the biggest fish like it should? You guys would think that the biggest bait is gonna catch the biggest bass, but today we are gonna find out. So stick around, stay tuned. We post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if you guys like this video, definitely consider subscribing. We're posting 3 videos a week, but let's jump into it because I am really curious to see what happens here, guys. If you guys watch the channel, you already know I'm a big Ned Rig fan, and I obviously think that this thing catches some pretty big fish, but we're gonna see what happens today, so let's go find out. Okay, so first spot of the day, as you guys can see, we are fishing out of the rowboat today, and we are starting out with that little 2 3/4-inch Z-Man Finesse TRD. So we're starting out with the smallest bait, and we're gonna get incrementally larger until we get to that 10-inch Mondo worm, but let's see what happens. First fish of the day, see how big of a bass we're gonna catch on this little Finesse TRD. Oh, here we go. First one of the day on the Z-Man TRD. So this is the smallest bait that we're fishing, and we got a halfway decent bass on. Not a giant, but we're gonna put this one on the bump board, see how big she is. First one, come on here, Bessie. I'm already gonna apologize to you guys too, because this wind noise is probably gonna be a little bit less than ideal today. But first bass of the day, like I said, smallest bait right there, Z-Man Finesse TRD. Gonna see how long this fish is, then we're gonna move on to the second smallest bait of the day, which is gonna be that little 3-inch Kraken craw. But get the official length on the TRD fish. Official length for the first bass on the Ego bump board is gonna be a 14-incher on the dot on that little Finesse TRD. So first one on that Ego bump board. If you guys wanna check those bump boards out, this is gonna be linked down below, but gonna get that fish back in the water, and we're gonna move on to the next bait of the day. So we are moving on to the 3-inch bait. So the first bait was 2 3/4 inch. Now we're gonna move on to this little 3-inch Kraken craw right here. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna rig it up on that exact same Ned Rig head. So just gonna get a little bigger, little bulkier profile bait on there. Like I said, we're just gonna kind of keep upgrading the size of the bait. But we're gonna stick with that exact same rig because that should work pretty well on that little Z-Man TRD head there. That is where we are at. 1 bait knocked down, and we've got 6 more to go. To rig this up, all we're doing is we're gonna find out exactly where that little Kraken craw is gonna pop out on the hook point there. Gonna slide that bait up as straight as we possibly can, and we have got ourselves a perfect little Ned Rig craw right there. See if upgrading the bait size a little bit is gonna get us a bigger bass. That is kind of the whole point of the video, to see if that 10-inch worm is going to catch the biggest fish. But first cast with that little 3-inch craw. Let's see what happens, boys and girls. Oh, there we go, on that Kraken craw. That feels like a decent fish too. Not a bad one. Oh my gosh, she's got some head shakes. That thing hit it the second that I lifted up. She was just on there. What do we got? What do we got here? Dude, she is freaking pulling. Oh my goodness. She is freaking tugging. Well, so far, I think that this is gonna be a slight upgrade from that first fish, and we are literally on the 2 smallest baits so far. That's a nice stocky, probably like 15-incher. Let's get her in the boat. Go swing her in, we'll swing her in. Okay, here we go, boys. That is an upgrade right there, and we are throwing that little 3-inch Kraken craw, literally the second smallest bait of the day. And we just caught ourselves a nice one right there. Okay, going for the official length on that bass that we just caught, 15.5 inches on that 3-inch Kraken craw. So far, boys and girls, we have 2 fish in the boat. And the first one was on a little 2 3/4-inch Ned Rig bait. This was on a 3-inch craw, and we just caught an almost 16-inch bass. So obviously not a giant, but we're gonna keep upgrading the size of our bait and see if we can keep getting bigger and bigger bass. So far, it is working, guys. Second smallest bait, and we've got the biggest fish so far. We're gonna get this fish back in the water, and we are gonna bump it up to the next size bait, which is is a 4-inch Senko, but little 3-inch craw, got it done. Nice size bass right there going back in the lake. There she goes, boys and girls, on that little 3-inch Kraken craw. So as we get bigger and bigger baits, we're obviously gonna start having to change up our gear a little bit. We caught both of those first ones on that little Ned rig head, but we are gonna switch up to a casting rod now. And I've got a little 3/0 zone lock worm hook rigged up on a little 1/4 ounce tungsten weight right there. So gonna move on to the Texas rig, put that little, where is it at here? Little 4.25 inch, the General Senko on. Little 3/0 zone lock hook, little 4-inch stick bait, and we're gonna see if we can beat that 15.5 incher as we keep getting bigger and bigger baits. We are rigged up and ready to go with that little Texas rig, 3rd smallest bait of the day. Let's get the 3rd bass in the boat. There he is on that Senko. It's really, really hard to feel these bites since it is so windy outside, but we got that one. Probably only like 3 casts. That's another decent one. I do not think that we're gonna upgrade with this fish right here though. I don't think she's gonna be bigger than 15.5, but we just bumped it up to that 4.25 inch Senko right there, the 3rd smallest bait, and probably took like 3 casts. That might be the smallest fish right there. Gonna put this one on the Ego bump board right here, see what kind of length we got. 13.5 incher right there. So that is not gonna be an upgrade for us. That is the smallest bass that we caught, and we were on the 3rd smallest bait, but we're gonna get this fish back in the water, and we are gonna bump it up to the 5-inch Senko. See if we could get this back on track, start getting into those much bigger baits, and start catching some bigger bass again. So just like those first 2 baits, we're gonna stay with the exact same rig right here. We have that 3/0 zone lock hook on there, and we are just going to upgrade the size of the Senko. So that first one was 4.25 inch. This is going to be a 5-inch Yum Dinger right here. Just bumping up the size, seeing if we could get on some bigger bass. We are rigged up and ready to go there with that slightly larger Senko, but if you guys want to check out those zone lock hooks too, that's all going to be linked down below as well. But we're looking for fish number 4. We're trying to get back on track. We're trying to catch some bigger bass here. Just fishing this little offshore point, and they are loaded up, as you guys can see. We have literally been, oh my gosh, and I just got slammed. We've literally been fishing for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. I've taken like 3 or 4 casts with each bait, and we are freaking busting them up. I just got bit on that very first cast with this Senko too. We're gonna catch one real quick here on this 5-inch dinger, I can tell you that. There he is on that 5-inch Senko. Come on, baby. She popped it, man. These fish are absolutely crushing it offshore right here. Another decent fish. Come on, baby. Come on in this boat. We're gonna boat flip her. That is gonna be probably the 2nd biggest bass of the day if I had to guess. I think that's gonna be over 14 inches right there, but a little 3/0 zone lock hook and that 5-inch Senko. So that was bait number 4, fish number 4 in the boat. We're gonna get the official length on this one. And we're starting to get up into those big old baits right after this too. 5-inch Senko is pretty standard. We have got us a just under 15 incher. We're gonna call it 14 3/4 for the sake of the challenge. So 2nd biggest bass, and so far that little 3-inch Kraken craw actually has our biggest one. But gonna get this fish back in the water, and we are gonna switch up the rig just a little bit because we are getting into some bigger baits right now. So the next 2 baits that we have in the lineup right here are like a 6.5 inch Biospun plasma tail, and then we have the 7-inch Exo ribbon. So we were throwing a little 3/0 zone lock hook right here. We're gonna cut that one off, and we are going to upgrade to a slightly larger 4/0 zone lock hook because these baits are a little bit longer. Usually when you start getting into those 6 and 7-inch bait, a 4 or even a 5/0 hook is going to be your go-to. Once we get to that Magnum 10-inch Mondo worm, we're actually going to bust out a 6/0 hook, because once you start getting into those 10-inch worms, you really got to start upping that hook size. But we are rigged up and ready to go. All we got to do is put on this little Biospun plasma tail. So we are on lure number 5, I want to say, and it's about 6.5 inches. We are rigged up and ready to go. Little Biospun plasma tail on the Texas rig. There we go. Oh, that feels like a nice one. It might have just deceived me a little bit, but that was a nice bite right there on that freaking plasma tail. The 6-inch worm. That might be the biggest one yet, boys. We might have just got the biggest one on the biggest worm that we've thrown so far. It's gonna be close. Probably like another 14.5 to 15 incher right there. Absolutely freaking clocked that little Biospun plasma tail though. I will tell you what though, guys, it was like 3 to 4 casts for all like the first 2 or 3 lures. All those small baits were getting bit instantly. This one took me like 10-15 minutes to get bit on, but bigger worm and one of the better quality fish that we've got so far. So let's get around this bump board, see what we're dealing with here. Yep, we have got ourselves a 14.5 incher. So it is the 3rd biggest fish, I guess, that we've caught so far. Another solid Michigan keeper bass, over 14 inches, going back in the lake, but we are down to the very very last 2 lures, so we are starting to get into some jumbo baits. Obviously, 7-inch worm isn't crazy, but pretty big worm right here. And then the very last lure that we're gonna throw in just a second here is that Googan Squad Mondo worm. Absolutely giant freaking 10-inch worm right there. But next bait on the agenda right here, little Biospawn XO ribbon coming out of the pack. And we have got 5 bass in the boat. Another solid 14.5-incher on that little 6.5-inch plasma tail right there. So we are sticking with the same rig for this one. Not gonna have to bump up the hook size at all. I think that 4-augh's gonna work out just fine for us. 4-aught zone lock hook and a little 1/4 ounce weight, same as we were just throwing. And we have got that XO ribbon rigged up. And we're trying to catch bass number 6 now. That last one loaded up. She felt really big. It was a decent fish, but she felt really, really nice, especially after not getting bit for a little while there. There we go. That was second cast with that XO ribbon. That's a very small bass though. We have bumped it up to the 7-inch worm, and we just caught the smallest fish of the day. 10.5 inches right there on that little Biospawn XO ribbon. But we are moving on to the very last bait. We are moving on to the Googan Squad Mondo worm. So hopefully we don't catch a 10-incher on this one. We are looking for the biggest bass of the day. We're hoping that we could get a nice big bite on this 10-inch worm right here. Folks at home, we are down to the wire. We have got the big old Googan Squad Mondo worm. We're gonna try to get one more bass in the boat for you guys. And so far the results are very inconclusive. And obviously this isn't gonna be super scientific since we're just taking the very first fish that we catch on each one of these baits. But one more worm, and then I'll kind of wrap that all up and talk about that a little bit more. Oh, here we go. There he is on the 10-inch worm. That one took a while, boys. We had to move spots and everything, but we finally just hooked up with the Mondo worm. Probably like 30 minutes to an hour fishing this thing. Oh God, and it's wrapped in the rope. It's wrapped in the rope. Here we go. Come in the boat. Come in the boat. There we go. Literally like 14 on the dot. So the exact same size as that little bass that we caught first thing on that little 2 3/4-inch Ned rig we just caught on that 10-inch Mondo worm right there. That is crazy. 14-incher going back in the lake, but that's pretty much what we wanted to see. Very, very interesting results, boys and girls. So we're gonna wrap the video up here at the house because the wind on the lake was absolutely killing us. But long story short, we started out with this tiny little finesse TRD made by Z-Man, less than 3 inches, and we worked our way up all the way to the Googan Squad Mondo worm, which is a 10-inch worm. And as you guys saw, we caught the exact same size fish on the very first bait that we threw as we did on this Googan Squad Mondo worm. So the video today obviously wasn't super scientific. All we were doing was taking that very first bass and seeing how big that one was. Realistically, you'd have to take a big sample size, like 30 bass per bait, and get that average. But we're not gonna do all that today. We just wanted to kind of see if we're gonna get some bigger bass on those bigger baits. And today it didn't really matter. We caught pretty much the same size bass on no matter what bait we threw. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed today's video, definitely consider hitting that thumbs up button and subscribing if you guys are not already subscribed. But I will catch you guys in the next one.